Welcome into the all-new Pit, the family barbecue area down the left field line here at Blue Sox Stadium, with an actual barbecue pit. It's one of the many changes that fans will see at the ballpark this summer ahead of the 2025 season. But the Blue Sox aren't home in round number one. We travel to Brisbane, and let's get into our preview for the opening round of the ABL season here on Blue Sox Weekly. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first episode of Blue Sox Weekly, where each week we'll preview the upcoming round of the Sydney Blue Sox season. If you're looking for a full season preview, where we break down all of the players on the roster, what our expectations are, you can head to wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the most recent episode of Blue Sox Insider, where me and my broadcast partner, Luke Eisenhower, talk about the Sydney roster, what our expectations are ahead of the ABL season. But each week here on Blue Sox Weekly, we'll take you through what our expectations are for the upcoming round. We'll hear from Brooke Knight, and we'll talk to plenty of the colorful characters around the Sydney Blue Sox. But before we look at this weekend series against Brisbane, let's have a look at what's changed across the league for 2025. Of course, the league has gone from 6 teams to 4 teams this year. Still a 10-week season. Thursday to Saturday is a change as well. No Sunday games for the most part this season. Another big change, the top 2 teams after round 10 advance to the ABLCS, so you've got to finish in the top 2 to get to the playoffs. And the roster structure, a little bit different as well. 22-man rosters plus 2 emerging players, essentially 2 young Australians that are allowed to be on the roster with the caveat that combined, they can't play more than 4 games in a single weekend. And minimums and maximums has changed as well. A minimum of 12 Australians on each roster and a maximum of 11 imports, including a maximum of 2 in independent baseball. You can view all the official rules and the official rule summary at the ABL website at theabl.com.au/media. Well, now let's talk about our opponent this weekend, the Brisbane Bandits. Look, this is a team that finished in 6th a year ago in the Australian Baseball League, but don't forget, they were a chance to get to the playoffs on the final day of the regular season. They finished up with a 17-23 record that was officially last in the league, but has talked about the chaos that happened on that final day. Saw them in playoff contention. The Blue Sox minor premiers 24-16, the final record for them. The two teams are very similar in terms of OPS, just a few points separating each of those. But the big difference came with the slugging. Brisbane, as they often are one of the top slugging teams in the league because of where they play. A short porch in Brisbane. They hit 44 home runs last year, which led the league. And at the opposite end of that, Sydney were last in home runs last season, hitting only 19. But on the mound is where Sydney shined, and we expect that to be the same again this year. 3.47 was the team ERA for the Blue Sox, 4.60 for the Brisbane Bandits. Now, of course, that was last year. Things are much different this year. We talked about Brisbane nearly making it into the playoffs a year ago. They played Canberra on the final day, and had they won that game with the way that things finished up in Melbourne, Brisbane would have been in the playoffs. Well, there's a very Canberra feel about the Brisbane Bandits this year. Their manager, for one, ABL champion Jim Bennett, moves from Canberra to Brisbane this season. He's back in Brisbane, where he won multiple Claxton Shields under Dave Nielsen as the pitching coach. And the former Canberra captain and Team Australia catcher Robbie Perkins makes the move to Brisbane as well, presumably to work alongside Jim Bennett in the lead-up to the World Baseball Classic. Power bat Rickson Wengrove makes the move from Adelaide to Brisbane. That's huge. And then John Kennedy, who's a do-it-all left-hander. He can start, he can pitch in middle relief, and he can potentially be a closer for Jim Bennett if need be. But one of the more interesting acquisitions is coming in from Japan. Hayata Nakagawa, who's coming from the Yokohama DNA Baystars, interestingly enough, who were also a former partner with the Canberra Cavalry. Yokohama are sending him to Brisbane to become a starter. He had a sub-2 ERA as a reliever this past year in the NPB, and the Blue Sox will no doubt see him at some point atop the mound this weekend. But the matchup that I want to look at between 2 players from these 2 teams are the youngsters. Max Durrington and Josh Nada have both been standout players ever since their youth, each 18 years of age. Of course, Max Durrington has already played 111 pro games with his athletics affiliation. He spent some time in Single A this past year. Josh Natai is yet to play a pro game. Remember, he was on the roster for the Blue Sox last year, but injured himself, broke his nose in the preseason, and has really yet to make his ABL debut. So does not have a pro game under his belt. He'll be headed to Oregon State. And following in his brother's footsteps, Jimmy Natai, who's playing his baseball in Stanford. But look at those numbers from these two this past weekend at the U23 qualifiers against Guam, both with an OPS north of 1,300. I have no doubt that we'll be seeing these two many, many years wearing the green and gold at the senior level for Team Australia. So for mine, having a look at Max Darrington and Josh Natai and the way they perform this weekend should be a lot of fun. So let's have a look at what the schedule looks like before we get to Brooke Knight. Thursday night is when things will kick off, 7:30 Sydney time. It's a 6:30 local time start in Brisbane, and all games this weekend will be on Baseball Plus. Stick around after the break. Sydney skipper Brooke Knight will join us here on Blue Sox Weekly. Well, welcome back to Blue Sox Weekly. Brooke Knight joins us. Quiet week? First week back in Australia?
Oh yeah, quiet. No, probably not so much. We've been getting after it at training and had a nice exhibition series that was actually really, really valuable. Other than a couple of soldiers going down, but aside from that, it was great and had a chance to see a lot of guys throw, a lot of guys swing the bat, especially some of the new bodies we have in town. So yeah, it was a good week overall.
Losing an import catcher before the season starts, losing your Australian potentially center fielder in Solomon Guire, maybe not having one of those import outfielders available for round one. I mean, this was a team that was really resilient last year. You had to deal with a lot of injury. What's it like having to deal with that prior to round one? I mean, essentially day zero. What's it like having to deal with that before the season even begins?
Yeah, I guess we're going to find out, right? Getting tested right out of the gate. We've got other guys who are ready to step up. We've had to make some adjustments. That's what you do. It was a little bit early for that. I could have waited maybe till round 5 or 6, but we were pretty good at doing that last year and had to figure it out. So, it'll be an interesting test for a couple of guys, but I know they're eager to compete and get after it, and I'm looking forward to seeing them do just that.
Well, I think one thing it's probably going to do is put more emphasis on the starting pitching, but it's well documented that was the strength of this team last year. The pitching staff as a whole is the strength of this team last year. What's their starting rotation going to look like in this first round? Because we know Landon Barrasa's not here. The craziness that's happened with Copa America and that tournament being canceled. It'd be nice to have him here for round one. So you do have some pieces missing. Jagger Beck is an inclusion. I know Houston want to see him get some work in. So what will the starting rotation look like this first round?
Yeah, well, we're going with Wellesley game one. I mean, not only because we have a lot of faith in him, but obviously based on his performance last year and what he's capable of and just the numbers he put up. He's a reliable veteran arm that knows what he's doing on the mound. So he gets the nod for the Thursday night game, and then we kind of slotted Cohen into the Friday night game, more than capable to start and get outs and keep us right where we need to be, especially in that ballpark. He tends to keep the ball down.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. So he's got game 2, and then we'll split the doubleheader on Saturday with Jagger and Benny Ferrer, who just got here today. So he'll throw aside tomorrow and be ready to go for Saturday. So that's what we got going into this series.
Was it an interesting conundrum with the 7-inning game on Saturday? Because Ben Ferrer was great in that spot for you last year, right? I mean, his max outing was 6 innings, so he was perfect for a 7-inning contest. But with Jagger Beck having not thrown many innings in North America this past season, was that kind of an interesting conundrum to figure out who fits where on Saturday?
Yeah, it seems to make a lot of sense. Jagger's young, and that 7-inning game just fits for him. There's obviously some pitch count restrictions for him as well. So hopefully he's clean, and based on his pitch count, give us at least 5. If he's super efficient, maybe more, but I think we're probably at 5, whether he hits his pitch count or not. So we'll see how it goes. But with Benny, I mean, he's a workhorse.
Yeah.
He'd probably go 10 if we needed him to. So really, for me, my only concern is arriving here today and getting your body on track. Sometimes you hit those flights just right and you sleep well, and you only need a day or a day and a half, and sometimes it's taken me 3 or 4 days. So hopefully Benny got some sleep on the plane and he's ready to go on Saturday.
So we know it. It seems like a different adventure every time you take that trip across the Pacific Ocean. You mentioned it there with Cohen, keeping the ball down in a ballpark like Holloway Field and Newmarket there in Brisbane. It's a unique challenge going there, particularly in round one, because they have always built their team around power, and you would if you play in a ballpark like that. It makes sense. They led the league in home runs last year. This team last year didn't have a lot of pop. On paper, there's not a lot of pop, a lot of young imports. Just talk to us about the unique challenges of taking a team to that ballpark and managing in a ballpark like that when you know that you're at a slight disadvantage because of the dimensions of the ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, we don't make the big mistake, which is trying to push it on the other side of the fence, right? I mean, that's an easy one for hitters to get wrapped up in, and just trying to hit the ball hard and let the result take care of itself. So, sure, they've got a handful of guys with Ricks and Perko and even Will Riley, and you go around the horn that can crash into it. But we've got a little more thunder in the lineup than maybe we had last year. We'll kind of see how it goes. Just even local guys, Jaylin Rae and Joey both came back just a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, but a little bit leaner. They're crashing into the balls pretty good in BP. And then I really like, Jimenez can really run into it, and Radicek too. I mean, he just showed up yesterday, but the BP was fun. We're gonna miss Dylan this series for sure. Briley can crash into it a little bit. So I like that part of the power part of the lineup is probably just a tick up from last season. And then the run tool is really still there. We've got some guys who can move around the bases and put some pressure on the other guys. So we'll see how it goes.
And just quickly, I know you haven't had a lot of time with them, but who's impressed you sort of among this import group of the affiliated guys? I mean, you talked there about Ferrer and Barraza, obviously. What's that import group been like? How have they gelled? Do you see them making a big impact in this team this year?
Yeah, I mean, the pleasant surprise has been both the tools and the attitude. It's been great. I think we have a real advantage with Yosh coming from Cincinnati and working with those same three guys in the Dominican for about a year. And his Spanish is a lot like mine. We work our way through it. It's a little broken. It's right.
And mine as well.
We can get the message across. So while it takes a little more time and it probably sounds pretty silly to them, they get the message. But, you've got those three guys all really talented. For Murillo, he's had a quad deal. He's basically healthy now, which is pretty good timing if Leach going down. But, they all are coachable. They all want to listen. They're all paying attention. That's been great. Huezo, who's probably down just to be precautionary this series. He can also run into it in the outfield. And the arm really works. All of them are really toolsy. I think the refreshing piece for me after many years in the ABL is you don't quite know what you're going to get for the makeup of the player. And all three of these, at least our Latin guys, two Venezuelans and Jimenez from the Dominican, have been really, really great and have kind of already just really meshed with our guys, and they brought them in because that's all it takes, right? If you're the Australian way is the Australian way. If you come in with the big ego or I'm too cool for school, like you will get humbled quickly by the Aussie on tangent, right? But if you come in with open arms and some humility, they will embrace you quickly, and that's what our guys have already done. So that's been great. Jagger was promising in his outing this past weekend. I mean, he's a big frame kid. His ball moves. And I'm hoping he has a good outing. I mean, he was in the zone through a lot of strikes. So, it'll be fun to watch him kind of get after it, grow and develop, probably make a few boo-boos here and there. But, looking forward to that as well.
Well, I think we were all looking forward to the opening round, but you've made us that little bit more excited. Brooke, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Amber.
Stick around. Jaylin Rae will join us after the break. Welcome back to Blue Sox Weekly. Jaylin Rae joins us. It's only a month or so since we chatted last, but just give us a sense of how preseason and sort of the lead up to the season has gone for you.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed this preseason. It's been good. We've got a good group of guys that we've got that have come together, and a few returners, key guys like Benny Ferrer and stuff, and I think the vibe's really good again. Just trying to build off that winning culture that we started, and can't wait to get started next week.
I don't want to ask you the same question again because we talked about it on Blue Sox Insider. If you haven't listened to the podcast with Jaylin on Blue Sox Insider, go do it. Download it wherever you get your podcasts. When we had a conversation, because we talked about your rookie season last year where you played 6 different positions, you only committed 1 error and 101 chances. And you said to me that you kind of enjoy that, coming to the ballpark and maybe not necessarily knowing where you're going to play because it keeps the game fresh and interesting for you. The way that this roster has been constructed, you're probably going to have to play a lot of second base this year. How does that sit with you going into the season?
I mean, I'm happy with it. Like, to be honest with you, I didn't even realize that I only committed 1 error last year. So that's pretty cool to know. But I'm really excited to be playing second base. Like I said, I'll play anywhere that the team needs me. But if that's where it suits, that's where it suits. And I've put a lot of work into my second base lately, and I'm really confident that I can be that guy for the boys and just get my job done.
Brooke was talking just now to us about some of the import guys, some of the affiliated players that have been here, not been here for long, but what's sort of been your impression of them? Who's impressed you of that import lot?
We've got a good group of imports that we've got come across. The 2 Dominicans and the Venezuelan, they can all swing it. They bring a lot of energy, which is really good for us. I know Hueso went dead center, which not many people go dead center here at Blacktown, so that was pretty impressive. We've got a good young arm as well, Jagger, big tall dude that can just whip it down there. But we've got a really good group, I think, that we've brought in that all want the same thing and want to win and want to keep getting better and stuff and want to help us kind of keep building that culture that we've got here. And really impressed this last weekend in our games, and I can't wait to get started.
Well, Luke and I were talking earlier this week on the season preview episode, wondering sort of what the top of the order was going to look like, and you and I talking just before we came back from break. It sounds like you've probably found your leadoff hitter in one of those imports.
Yeah, little Nunez. He's a good little spark plug, I think. He's got some great discipline at the plate. He's got a really good left-handed swing. He can run, and he's just a little energizer guy, and he kind of gets me going if I'm in that 2-hole. So it's a nice little 1-2 punch that we got. And it's really exciting. I think the Blue Sox fans should be very excited with what we got coming.
I think there's definitely some excitement. If there wasn't already, there is some around the season heading into round number 1. Jaylin, good to catch up with you again. We'll see you down the road. Good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it.
So don't forget, season gets underway on Thursday night. It's a 7:30 first pitch for those of us here in Sydney, 6:30 local in Brisbane. You can catch all games on Baseball Plus. Friday, doubleheader Saturday before the boys head back to Sydney for the home opener next week. We'll catch you at the end of the weekend on Blue Sox Insider for the series recap, and we'll see you right back here for Blue Sox Weekly next Wednesday. Enjoy your baseball on the weekend, everybody. Go Blue Sox.